The shadow of invasion. They called themselves the Drax Confederacy. For 12,000 years, they had expanded across the stars, their biomechanical ships slicing through the darkness between worlds like predators on an endless hunt. 500 species had fallen before them, either absorbed into their collective or eradicated when deemed unworthy of assimilation. Their technology was beyond comprehension, their numbers seemingly infinite, and their hunger for conquest insatiable. Earth was nothing to them. Just another blue-green marble spinning around an unremarkable yellow star in the spiral arm of a commonplace galaxy. In their vast cataloging system, humans were classified as primitive bipedal omnivores, pre-stellar, internal conflict stage. Not a threat, barely worthy of notice. That was their first mistake. The Drax scout ships arrived on a Tuesday. 7 obsidian vessels, each shaped like elongated teardrops, appearing suddenly in high Earth orbit. No warning, no hyperspace distortion. They simply materialized as if they had always been there, their hulls absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Global communications faltered for 12 seconds, enough time for every government on Earth to realize something monumental had changed. They're scanning everything. General Helena Vasquez reported in the hastily assembled UN Security Council emergency session. Her voice was steady, but the tremor in her hands betrayed her. Our satellites, our power grids, our defense systems, our communications. Hell, they're probably scanning our breakfast cereals. UN Secretary General Okafor nodded grimly. And our attempts at communication. Every frequency, every language, every possible mathematical sequence we could think of. Communications Director Zhang replied. Nothing. It's like shouting at a mountain and expecting it to answer. For 3 days, the ships hung motionless, watching, learning. Then, without warning, they descended through the atmosphere, positioning themselves over 7 major cities around the globe. Not firing, not attacking, just waiting. The emissaries emerged on the 4th day. They were tall, nearly 3 meters in height, with bodies that seemed to blend organic and mechanical components seamlessly. Their skin was a metallic blue-gray, pulsing slightly with an internal light that followed the rhythm of what humans assumed was a heartbeat. Where faces should have been, they had smooth, reflective surfaces that rippled like liquid mercury. "We are Drax," they announced simultaneously across all global communications networks, their synthesized voices eerily perfect in every Earth language. "You will be evaluated." That was all. Diplomats rushed to each landing site. Experts in xenobiology, linguistics, psychology, and military strategy gathered to form first contact teams. Humanity put its best foot forward, offering peace, knowledge exchange, cultural understanding. The Drax remained silent. Their emissaries stood motionless in the centers of the 7 cities, scanning, analyzing, judging. On the 7th day, they spoke again. Evaluation complete. Classification. Unsuitable for integration. Recommended action. Resource extraction. Within hours, the true invasion began. The 7 scout ships were merely the vanguard. Hundreds more materialized in orbit, their weapons already charging. The first strikes targeted military installations, power plants, and communication hubs. Precision bombardments from orbit reduced humanity's defensive capabilities by 60% in the first wave alone. Ground forces followed, not the emissaries, but combat units. Mechanical constructs piloted by Drax consciousnesses, each standing 4 meters tall with integrated energy weapons and adaptive shielding. They didn't kill indiscriminately. They secured strategic locations and began constructing extraction facilities. Earth wasn't being conquered. It was being harvested. Within 3 weeks, major resistance had been crushed. Conventional weapons barely scratched the Drax armor. Nuclear options were considered but ultimately rejected. The Drax had demonstrated the ability to neutralize atomic reactions before detonation. Humanity was losing, not just the war, but any hope for survival. In an underground facility, Beneath the ruins of Cambridge University, Dr. Maya Chen worked frantically. Once one of the world's leading quantum physicists, she now led a desperate team of scientists pulled from the wreckage of research institutions across the globe. Their mission: find anything, anything at all, that might give humanity an edge. They're breaking every rule of physics we understand, Maya muttered, her eyes red from lack of sleep as she studied the fragmented data from Drax ship movements. The way they appear and disappear, their energy signatures, the way their hulls interact with radiation, it's like they're partially out of phase with our reality. Dr. Aiden Nakamura, her colleague and former rival, looked up from his own calculations. What if that's exactly what they're doing? Operating on a quantum level we haven't mastered yet. Maya froze, her coffee cup halfway to her lips. Phase variance. She set the cup down, her hands suddenly steady. They're not breaking physics. They're using a layer of it we haven't accessed. That realization became the foundation of Project Umbra. While resistance forces fought desperate holding actions around the globe, buying time with their lives, Maya's team began constructing something the Drax couldn't have anticipated. A human ship designed to operate on the same quantum principles as their own. Resources were scarce. Every piece of advanced technology had to be salvaged from ruins or stolen from lightly guarded Drax outposts. Every scientist and engineer was irreplaceable. The work continued through bombardments, through power failures, through despair. 6 months after the invasion began, Project Umbra had its prototype. The Shadow. It wasn't large, barely 30 meters in length, with a crew capacity of 6. Its hull was a patchwork of Earth metals and repurposed Drax components. At its heart was Maya's breakthrough, a quantum phase drive that, theoretically, could shift the entire vessel partially out of conventional spacetime. If it worked, the Shadow would be nearly invisible to Drax sensors, could pass through solid matter if necessary, and could appear and disappear just as the enemy did. If it worked. This is either humanity's salvation or the most elaborate suicide machine ever built, Commander Elias Reed remarked as he inspected what would be his command. Reed had been a naval submarine captain before the invasion. His experience operating in stealth conditions made him the perfect choice to lead this mission. Maya looked up at him, her expression grim. Either way, it's the only chance we have. The first test runs were conducted in the flooded remains of London's underground system. Short jumps, mere seconds of phase shifting. Each success was celebrated like a miracle. Each failure analyzed with desperate intensity. On the day the Shadow was deemed ready for actual combat, a Drax harvester ship was detected approaching their hidden facility. "They found us," Nakamura said, his voice hollow with dread. "All this work, and we never even get to use it." Reed's jaw tightened. "The hell we don't." He turned to Maya. "Doctor, how quickly can we launch?" "Launch? We haven't completed the final safeguards. The phasing system is still unstable at extended periods." "Can we launch?" Reed's voice cut through her protests like steel. Maya hesitated only a moment. "Yes, but I'm coming with you. Nobody else understands the phase drive well enough to make adjustments in the field." Within 40 minutes, the Shadow was powered up, its small crew of volunteers strapped in, and Maya's precious phase drive humming with potential energy. As the Drax harvester began its final approach to the facility, Reed gave the order. "Initiate phase shift. Take us out, straight through the ceiling." Maya activated the drive. The sensation was unlike anything they had experienced. Reality seemed to blur around them, solid matter becoming translucent, light bending in impossible ways. The Shadow rose through soil, concrete, and debris as if they were nothing more than mist, emerging into the night air directly beneath the massive Drax vessel. "Phase drive stable," Maya reported, her voice tight with concentration. "We're practically ghosts to their sensors." Reed nodded. "Good. Let's show these bastards that Earth has teeth." He turned to his weapons officer. "Target their propulsion system. When I give the word, Drop us back into normal phase just long enough to fire, then phase shift again immediately. The Shadow maneuvered silently into position beneath the Harvester's main engine housing. The Drax ship, over 500 meters of gleaming obsidian biometal, continued its approach toward the facility, completely unaware of the smaller vessel now matching its course. "Now," Reed ordered. For less than 2 seconds, the Shadow solidified completely into normal space. Its main weapon, a repurposed Drax energy projector, fired a concentrated pulse directly into the Harvester's exposed engine core. Before the Drax ship could register the attack or respond, the Shadow had phased out again, becoming intangible. The effect was spectacular. The Harvester's engine core destabilized, cascading failures rippling through its systems. Unable to maintain its own phase coherence, the massive ship fully materialized in normal space, and then began to fall. Its emergency systems fired too late, too weakly. The Drax vessel plummeted from the sky, crashing into an abandoned industrial zone 3 kilometers from the Umbra facility. For the first time since the invasion began, a Drax ship had been destroyed by human hands. Inside the Shadow, there was no celebration, only grim satisfaction and the knowledge that they had just painted a massive target on themselves. But they had also proven a concept. The Drax could be fought on their own terms. "Take us back to base," Reed ordered. "We need to analyze every second of that engagement and prepare for their response." As the Shadow phased back through the Earth toward their hidden facility, Maya looked at the sensor readings from the destroyed Harvester. "They'll adapt," she said quietly. "They'll figure out what we did and develop countermeasures." Reed nodded. "Then we'll need more ships like this one. A whole fleet of Shadows." Maya's expression hardened with determination. "Then that's exactly what we'll build." In the Drax command vessel, orbiting high above Earth's atmosphere, Supreme Overseer Kvex received the report of the Harvester's destruction. For the first time in centuries of conquest, uncertainty flickered through the Overseer's consciousness. "Analysis of destruction," Kvex demanded. "Unknown weapon signature," came the response. "Possible phase technology detected before communication loss." Kvex processed this information with growing concern. Phase technology was supposed to be beyond this species' capabilities. The evaluation had been clear on that point. "Reevaluate threat assessment of indigenous species," Kvex ordered. "Increase Harvester escorts. Find this weapon." As new orders spread through the Drax fleet, something unprecedented happened within Kvex's consciousness. The first stirrings of doubt. These humans had developed, or perhaps reverse-engineered, technology that should have been centuries beyond their reach. If they had done this in mere months, what else might they accomplish? For the first time in the history of the Drax Confederacy, a conquest had become complicated, and complications were not to be tolerated. "Accelerate the harvest," Kvex commanded. "Strip this world bare before they can develop further resistance." Little did the Supreme Overseer know it was already too late. The Shadow War had begun. Turning the tide. Supreme Overseer Kvex stood motionless before the massive observation portal of the command vessel, gazing down at the blue-green world that had become an unexpected problem. In 12,000 years of Drax expansion, no pre-stellar civilization had ever managed to destroy a Harvester. The fact troubled Kvex deeply, sending ripples of uncertainty through the Overseer's biomechanical systems. "Report status of harvest operations," Kvex demanded, not turning from the viewport. Second Overseer Tlax approached, the lights pulsing beneath its metallic skin, dimmed in what passed for concern among the Drax. "Efficiency has decreased by 17% in the last 30 days. We have lost 8 more Harvesters to the same weapon signature. Our phase detection systems cannot locate the human vessels before they attack." Kvex absorbed this information in silence. 17% was significant. The Confederacy's central planning algorithms allowed for no more than 3% variance in resource acquisition timelines. The Supreme Council would soon demand explanations. "Show me the attack pattern analysis." A 3-dimensional projection materialized between them. showing Earth and the locations of all harvester losses. There was no discernible pattern. The human strikes occurred across all continents, at varying altitudes, targeting different classes of Drax vessels. They are adapting faster than anticipated, T-Lax observed. The evaluation protocols classified them as fractured and uncoordinated. This suggests otherwise. Qvex's reflective facial surface rippled with irritation. The evaluation was flawed. Increase combat patrols by 300%. Deploy sensor drones at 50-kilometer intervals in harvesting zones. I want these human ships found and eliminated. As the Drax command struck, Maya stepped forward, activating her own display. The Drax phase technology operates on quantum principles that allow their ships to exist partially outside normal spacetime. We've been using a simplified version of the same technology, which is why they're starting to detect us. Our phase signatures leave ripples they can track. She brought up a complex equation that few in the room could understand. I've discovered something they don't seem to be utilizing. Dimensional variance. Instead of simply phasing in and out of normal space, we can shift our quantum signature across multiple dimensional states. Captain Quan from the Chinese Remnant Forces frowned. In simple terms, Doctor, we can hide in the spaces between spaces, Maya explained. It's like they're playing hide and seek in a two-story house, but we've discovered the basement, attic, and all the crawl spaces they don't know exist. Reed's eyes lit up with understanding. Can we weaponize this? Maya's expression turned grim. That's the real breakthrough. We can use dimensional shifting to bring back something from the other side. Something that doesn't belong in our reality, and is highly volatile when it makes contact with Drax biotechnology. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. How soon can you upgrade our fleet? Reed asked. The first ship can be modified in 3 days, all 12 within 2 weeks. Reed nodded decisively. Do it. In the meantime, we maintain our current hit-and-run tactics. Keep them distracted while we prepare for something bigger. As Project Umbra's scientists and engineers worked to implement Maya's dimensional variance technology, the Shadow Fleet continued its guerrilla campaign against Drax operations worldwide. They weren't just targeting harvesters now. Supply chains, communication relays, troop deployments all fell victim to the phantom ships that appeared from nowhere, struck with devastating precision, and vanished before retaliation could be mounted. Each victory, however small, spread through the human resistance networks. Hope, nearly extinguished in the early months of the invasion, began to flicker back to life in hidden bunkers and mountain strongholds. People whispered about the Shadow Fleet, their legends growing with each telling. 7 weeks after Maya's breakthrough, the upgraded fleet was ready. Reed gathered his captains for the most ambitious operation yet. Intelligence has confirmed the location of the Drax command vessel, he announced, indicating a massive ship in high Earth orbit. It's 5 times larger than a standard harvester and coordinates all Drax operations in our solar system. Our sources indicate that Supreme Overseer Qvex is on board. The room tensed. Taking out harvesters was one thing. Targeting the command structure of the entire invasion force was something else entirely. Reed continued. Dr. Chen's dimensional variance technology has been installed in all our ships. We've tested it extensively. The Drax cannot detect us when we're in variance shift. More importantly, we now carry dimensional charge weapons that can destabilize their biotechnology at the molecular level. He highlighted specific approach vectors on the tactical display. We'll attack in 3 waves. Alpha Team will target their external sensor arrays. Beta Team will neutralize their defensive weapons. Gamma Team, led by myself and Dr. Chen, will penetrate to the Central Command Core and deploy the dimensional charge directly into their primary systems. Captain Hassan voiced what everyone was thinking. This isn't just a strike mission. This is an attempt to decapitate their entire command structure. Reed nodded solemnly. Exactly. For 7 months, they treated Earth like a resource to be harvested. It's time they learned we're not just another species to be added to their catalog of conquests. The assault on the Drax command vessel began in the early hours of the morning, coordinated with resistance attacks on ground-based Drax installations worldwide to stretch their response capabilities thin. Alpha teams struck first, their ships emerging from dimensional variants directly alongside the massive command vessel's sensor arrays. The new weapons worked exactly as Maya had predicted, streams of dimensionally shifted particles that passed through Drax shielding as if it wasn't there, then detonated into exotic matter upon contact with their biotechnology. Sensor arrays disintegrated, leaving gaping holes in the command ship's awareness. Beta team hit 2 minutes later, targeting weapon emplacements and engine clusters with the same devastating results. The massive ship, for the first time, seemed vulnerable as sections of its obsidian hull turned dull and lifeless. Gamma team, you're clear to proceed, Captain Hassan reported from her position with Beta team. Their defenses are down by approximately 60%. They're launching fighters, but they're flying blind. Reed's voice was steady as he responded. Acknowledged. Gamma team is proceeding to insertion point. The 3 ships of Gamma team, including Reed's flagship and Maya's research vessel, shifted into the deepest dimensional variants yet attempted, so far removed from normal space that the universe around them appeared distorted and alien. They passed through the hull of the Drax command vessel as if it were nothing more than a hologram, emerging inside a vast chamber filled with biotechnological interfaces. Central processor identified. Maya reported from her instruments, 300 meters ahead. That's where we need to place the dimensional charge. Reed nodded grimly. Take us in. Stay in variance until the last possible moment. As they approached the pulsating core of the Drax command systems, alarm signals began to flash across Maya's console. They're detecting dimensional fluctuations. They're adapting faster than we anticipated. How long until they can target us? Reed demanded. Minutes, maybe less. Reed made a split-second decision. Change of plan. I'll take the charge in alone on a one-way insertion. The rest of you, get clear and return to base. Maya's head snapped up. That's suicide, Commander. This was always a one-way mission for someone, Reed replied calmly. The charge has to be placed directly into their central processor. It was never going to deploy itself. Before Maya could protest further, Reed's ship broke formation, accelerating toward the massive biotech structure at the heart of the Drax vessel. Get clear, Doctor. That's an order. Earth will need your brain more than it needs my courage after today. With reluctance, Maya ordered her ship to pull back, watching as Reed's vessel approached the central processor. Just as Drax energy weapons began to lock onto the dimensional variants, Reed's ship fully materialized in normal space, ramming directly into the pulsating core. The dimensional charge detonated. Reality itself seemed to warp around the Drax command vessel. Sections of it disappeared into other dimensions, while others collapsed in upon themselves. The chain reaction spread throughout the massive ship, systems failing catastrophically as the exotic matter reaction consumed everything it touched. From her position at a safe distance, Maya watched through tears as the command vessel broke apart, secondary explosions rippling along its length as escape pods launched in all directions. Commander Reed was gone, but his sacrifice had destroyed the head of the Drax invasion force. In the chaos that followed, the remaining Shadow Fleet ships struck at Drax vessels across Earth orbit. Without central coordination, the Drax response was fragmented and ineffective. For the first time, they found themselves on the defensive, unable to predict where the human ships would appear next or how to counter weapons that seemed to defy the laws of physics as they understood them. 3 weeks after the destruction of the command vessel, Maya stood before the unified resistance leadership in their underground headquarters. The room was tense with both hope and uncertainty. The Drax forces are in disarray, she reported. Without Supreme Overseer Kvex and their command structure, they've reverted to pre-programmed protocols. Their harvesting operations have nearly ceased as they focus on defensive positions. General Vasquez leaned forward. Can we push them off Earth entirely? Maya shook her head. Not yet. They still outnumber and outgun us significantly, but we've proven something far more important. They're not invincible. Their technology can be understood, replicated, and turned against them. What about reinforcements? Someone asked. Won't the Drax Confederacy send more ships once they realize what's happened? Almost certainly, Maya acknowledged. But our long-range sensors indicate it will take them at least 8 months to reach us at their top speed. By then, she activated a holographic display showing the schematics for a massive ship far larger than any of the Shadow Fleet vessels. Its design incorporated Drax technology, but was unmistakably human in its conception. By then, we'll have this. We're calling it the Leviathan. It combines everything we've learned about Drax phase technology with our dimensional variance breakthroughs. It will be capable of not just fighting the Drax on equal terms, but taking the fight to their home systems if necessary. The room erupted in murmurs of amazement and hope. Maya raised her hand for silence. Commander Reed knew that we couldn't just drive the Drax away from Earth. As long as they exist, they'll see us as a threat to be eliminated. He believed, and I agree, that our only path to true security is to force the Drax Confederacy to recognize humanity as equals, not as resources to be harvested. She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of resistance leaders from every continent. They came to our world expecting to find fractured, primitive creatures they could easily dominate. Instead, they found humanity. Adaptable, resourceful, and unwilling to submit. Now they'll learn what that really means. In the depths of space, beyond the orbit of Mars, a damaged Drax scout vessel limped toward the outer system. On board, a junior overseer prepared the quantum transmission that would reach the Confederacy homeworld in a matter of days. The message was simple but would send shockwaves through the entire empire. Evaluation error. Earth resistance exceptional. Humans have mastered phase technology and dimensional variance. Command vessel destroyed. Request immediate reinforcement. The overseer hesitated before adding the final line. Words that had never before been included in any Drax communication throughout their 12,000 years of expansion. Exercise extreme caution. This species is dangerous. Back on Earth, in what had once been Cambridge University and was now the heart of Project Umbra, Maya stood before the partially constructed frame of the Leviathan. Its hull gleamed with the same obsidian biometal as the Drax ships, but reconfigured, reimagined through human ingenuity. She placed her hand on the cool surface, feeling the slight pulse of energy beneath, not just Drax technology, but something new, something that belonged to humanity now. They thought we were just another world to conquer, she whispered. They never realized they were providing us with the very tools we needed to defeat them. Above her, emblazoned on the forward section of the massive vessel, was its name in stark white letters, Leviathan. And beneath it, smaller but no less powerful, the words that had become the motto of the resistance. From Earth, with defiance, the Shadow War was over. The real fight for humanity's place among the stars was about to begin.